How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. Well, welcome to Headcases, and today's guest was mowing lawns in 1975 when he saw the film Shampoo, and he was inspired by Warren Beatty's hairdresser character. Fascinated by beauty and style trends, he signed up for cosmetology school. Now, fast forward to today, he is an Aveda Global Master and a NAHA Master with wins such as Hairdresser of the Year, Avant-Garde Stylist of the Year, Salon Team of the Year, a 2 times Makeover Stylist of the Year. He is also listed in the top 20 salon owners in the country and top 75 educators, now catch this, of the century. He's received the Lifetime Achievement Awards from Aveda and Art and Fashion Group, as well as being a Aveda World Master Award winner. He has 9 Atlanta area salons with 250 plus service providers, with a partnership in Japan with 40 salons. So let's get into this week's head case, the legendary Van Council. Van, welcome to Head Cases. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here. Because the reason why I say back is we've been floating around the industry for so long, and we've never had the chance to really sit down and have like a beer and a cup of coffee or whatever and chat. And that's why I'm really excited to have you on here. So welcome.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be on your podcast. And you're right, we shook hands a few times at many hair shows, but we haven't had that beer yet. So I look forward to that.
Well, yeah, and it can be whatever we need, if it's coffee or wine or beer or whatever, but I'm going to hold firm to that one. And if I'm ever out in the Atlanta area, et cetera, or if you're ever out here, I know you said you're big into mountain biking. So yeah. If you're ever out here and you want a place to crash, I mean, we've got all sorts of room out here. It'd be a pleasure and honor not only to do that, but sit down, have that beer, and actually cook and have some brick bread.
I will take you up on that. That would be awesome.
Well, it's there, and it's an open invite, my friend. Listen, I always like to know that, and I don't know who in the industry wouldn't know you, but I think even for the people that may not know, tell us a little bit about just your hair story. Like, was there anything pre-cosmetology school? Like, did you have a different job? Were you have a different aspiration? What was the hair story? How'd you get into it?
Well, I've told this story about 1 billion times, it feels like, and it's very cheesy, but this is the true story.
I love cheese.
My junior year in high school, I saw the movie Shampoo, and I was thinking today they should come out with Shampoo too, because how many hairdressers did this movie produce? I saw the movie Shampoo, and of course I know you know the movie, and it was based on a true story, which I didn't know at the time. I grew up in North Georgia, about an hour or so north of Atlanta. It's a very small town. So I saw this movie, and it's my junior year in high school. And, I knew that my parents didn't really have money to send me to college. I also didn't feel like I was really college material, because I was more interested in football and baseball and basketball and girls. And, it was hard for them to get me to do my homework. And, so I saw this movie and I thought, you know what? Like, shit, I could do that. Like, ride a all year round and do some house calls. And I looked into beauty school, and, this is 1975. So there wasn't a lot of good schools. You didn't have the Avedas and the Paul Mitchells back then. So I found the worst beauty school I could find in Atlanta, and I signed up for it. And I moved from Cartersville, Georgia to Atlanta, and I was 18 years old. So, my summer jobs was shoveling asphalt on the highway and doing construction and working outside in the heat. So I thought, well, this is an indoor job. And, beauty school at that time seemed expensive. It was $2,000 and 9 months. And the way I looked at it was, if it didn't work out, I'll take a plan B. Maybe I looked at college sometimes down the road, but it was pretty tough getting through beauty school. But by the end of it, I had fallen in love with doing hair,
Mm.
But hey, the first 6 weeks, I was really questioning what I had done, you know what I mean? Because they gave me the kit and they said, hey, do you have thinning shears and double prong clippies and all this stuff I'd never heard of? I'm just looking in there like it's Japanese because, I didn't know any hairdressers. I mean, I went cold turkey into this. I had no mentors, no one to guide me, so it was just leap of faith.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I think even at that, I could be totally off, and this is just an opinion and thing came to my brain right now because I'm looking at the parallels that you have and I had going to it, and because I started, I went to beauty school in what was it, 1969 or 70, and I was 3, by the way, if anybody's doing math. So the point was, I remember if it was $25 a month. And I just went because my mom was a hairdresser, and I've told that story 100 times as well. And I know your story is about shampoo is there because it's the truth. It's what got you there. But for those people that don't know, just give us a broad scope on the outline plot of what it was about a hairdresser.
Well, you had Warren Beatty, he had his long hair and all his leather clothes and his Harley, and he was sleeping with all his clients and the moms and the daughters, and it was terrible. But at 17 years old, it looked kind of appealing to have a Harley and have a hot girlfriend. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I think I could do this. That was really it. Like I said, I had no idea what I was really getting into. It's funny. I got out of cosmetology school. Like I said, I didn't have any directions. There wasn't really any, and I don't want to offend anybody, but there wasn't really any like salons with serious training programs. I mean, I would love to know now what I know then what I do now. I mean, I should have moved to London and worked for Trevor, and assisted Trevor, or went through some program like that, but I didn't even know what I should be doing. So I got a job, in suburbs of Atlanta charging $3 a haircut out of beauty school, so, and sometimes the guy would run 50% off coupons. And I did that for a couple of years, and I just had to figure it all out myself. Seriously. I never worked anywhere that I went to a training program, which, I believe people should have mentors. I didn't start figuring out mentors till about 8 years in, that this is what I needed. When I met Horace, when I met Scott Cole, I went to work for Scott, because I saw him on stage with Horace. And then that's when my career and what hairdressing, I wasted 8 years, honestly. I was hungry. I went to Vidal Sassoon School every year in London. I figured out to go there. I went there every year. And then I went to all color classes in New York. I went to Diego Messina's braiding classes. So I did all my training by me paying for classes everywhere. If there was a hair show, I went to it. I wanted to learn, but I didn't have anybody in my city that would really train me. I didn't really have money to move from Atlanta also. I did look at moving to New York. I did look at trying to go to London, but I just financially, I had no support. I grew up, I tell people I grew up with no money, but I had great parents. I had great family. So I was rich in many ways, but we didn't have money, so I just stayed in Atlanta, because one, I'm kind of a homeboy anyhow. It's all my family's here. Both my brothers are hairdressers now. I started first and they followed me, but all my friends and family were here. So I never left, but I just had to figure out how to train myself and take as many classes as I could. And finally I did work for Scott Cole for about 2.5 years, which was a life changer for me, to learn how to cut hair. I still was probably destroying hair after 5 or 6 years of doing hair, so or maybe longer. I don't know. Maybe it took me 40 years to figure it out, but I still don't know if I've ever cut the perfect bob. You know what I mean?
I'd question anybody who said that any bob they did was perfect.
Yeah,
but
I did learn how to section it to try it, but I don't know if I ever nailed one.
Well, I've seen your work, and I think you're just being very humble. However, where is Scott now? What is Scott up to?
Scott lives in Arizona. He lives in Scottsdale. And
he's down the road from me.
He is, man. He's 30 minutes or so from you? 40 minutes? So that's where he lives. He's been there for a long time, and he does have a Paul Mitchell school there, and
Oh,
that's pretty much he's semi retired. That was his
yeah.
words to me. That he was
I'm going to go in and spring on him and say hi.
yeah,
I haven't seen him in God knows. I used to travel on the road with him all the time when he was, I believe he was working with Paul Mitchell at that time.
he
And, you know,
was.
he was a good dude, really
Yeah.
good dude.
Well, I still say with Scott, I mean, of all the people I've seen cut hair, I put him in the top 5 hair cutters that I've
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
watched. I mean, I
Yeah.
learned a lot in those 2 years. I was hungry to learn. You know, when I went to work for him, I was ready to soak in everything. I would come in the morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, and even if I didn't have clients, I'd stand there and watch him till 9 o'clock at night. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because I was like, he was an amazing hair cutter for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting. I love the word that you used there with, you said hungry.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, there is so much that's going on right now, and everybody's talking about millennials, or not the millennials, the new type of person that coming out and they're lazy and so on. I don't really believe that. I just think, you know, everybody's human being. A good friend of mine, I mean, I'm sure I'm in business with him in so far as our training stuff that we do with Chris Moody, Steven's brother,
Yeah.
and he talks about it, and he says, you know, that you know, it's just that it's not that they're lazy or that they're not willing. They just are not from our era where we'll just put up with something. You know, they're in that swipe left or right. I don't even know which way it goes, but you're in that swipe to the side
Right.
movement, and they don't like it, they'll move on. And
Yeah.
if they go to a class or they're seeing something, and they'll just say, you know, I don't like this, and they'll call you on. They'll just call it on bullshit, you know. And I think that's something magical about that. So that if people just understand that, and the people that are from like my era change and just realize that you've got to get to the point, give them value, and that they understand. Because I
Yeah.
understand, like,
I
and
agree.
I think that you've got a magic formula that you worked out. Because I listened to some of the things that you were on prior, and you were doing a podcast with a mutual friend of ours, you know, from Paul Mitchell and from
Right.
the schools, you
Right.
know, and Wynn was talking about that, and you talked about how the young kids, your new talent,
Mhm.
is in your schools. So I didn't realize I'm kind of jumping ahead of where I wanted to go because I wanted to find about the
Yeah.
schools, et cetera. But because this came up, tell us just a little bit about the new talent program that you have and how they can progress, but also what you put them through, because I think that's critical.
Yeah, we still do too. We haven't been, you know, and it's not an easy sell. You know, like we put a lot of effort in recruiting. We
Yeah.
take recruiting seriously because I tell people, you know, if I'm consulting or talking salon owners, I said, if I'm a football coach for the SEC, you know, got Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, I mean, all these great schools here, right? If I'm the head football coach, what's my number one job? Is
Yeah.
recruiting. Because if I don't
Hmm.
have good players,
You got
I'm not going
nothing.
to have a good team.
Yeah.
So, like last year, myself, I probably went to 10 different states and spoke at schools. You know, I'm paying for my airfare, my room, and taking staff with me. And we probably spent a good 100,000 a year, you know, just on recruiting alone. Because I know if I don't have the best students, so it's not an easy sell in this day and time, but we still do it and we still stay full. You know, but
Hmm.
I do feel like we kind of get the cream of the crop. So it's still a 2-year program, you know, that they go through. So they come in the salon, and we call them interns because they are licensed,
Yeah.
and you know, they work with a senior stylist, so they have a mentor that they're assigned to one-on-one. So they're with that mentor 4 days a week, and then on Monday they have class 8 hours a day. So that's
Yeah.
the first year. Right at the end of the first year, they go into new talent. So every location has a new talent section, you know, in it. So the prices are half price, and their books are full the first day, you know, because
Wow.
it's a big demand for the consumers in Atlanta to get the Van Michael experience for half price, right? So they go in, they get a full book right away, and we're coaching them. I mean, I have coaches in there, but it's not run like a school. When the client comes in, there's no one working with them and consulting or teaching, right? It's a
Right.
salon. I mean, they're licensed hairdressers. They've already been out of school for a year. I mean, they're actually pretty good, right,
Yeah.
for the price. And anyhow, we monitor them on client retail per customer, client retention, new client retention. Are you on time every day? Do you look good? Because you can't go to the Van Michael floor till you hit all the points that we want you to be, right? The reason I came up with New Talents is, well, one, I stole the name from Horace. Well, I didn't steal it. I went and he had closed his, and I went and asked him, hey, if you're not going to use that name, can I have it and trademark it? And he said, yes. His was gone, but I liked the name. So I trademarked the name New Talent. And the reason I wanted to do it was I would train people for a year and I'd put them on the floor. And their first year, their client retention is terrible, right? They're just not experienced enough. You know, they're 21, 22 years old and they got a 50-year-old lawyer or doctor in their chair who's gone to the best hairdressers in the city, right? They're not ready. So no matter what I did, they were terrible the first year. So I wanted to create a name that clients know that they're still in training. You know, if they did get a bad haircut or color, they can't say they really got it at By Michael. They got it at New Talent.
Right.
You know, so that really was the whole idea. That way, when I do put them on the floor at By Michael, because they always get all the new people that we call that don't know who they want, right?
Yeah.
But now they're not really new people anymore. They've already been in the company for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
We have confidence that they're going to have good client retention. You know, so that's really how we came up with New Talents. You know, like I was like, I've got to do something, because you know what I found? They would come out of school and then they would assist, but on Mondays they get to do one client, right?
Right.
But then the year they've done 40 or 45 haircuts or colors. They were worse.
Oh, really?
Because they didn't do hair. They were doing 5 or 6 people every day in school. Now they went to one client a week. They had less confidence.
Wow.
You know, and so I was like, how can I get them more experience? You know, so, you know, they go into New Talents and they're doing 8 to 10 people a day. So over a year, that's that experience, that hands-on, that salon etiquette, how to do consultations, how to talk to people. You know, like they don't have that until they do it for a year or two. You know, that whole thing, you got to do something for 10,000 hours to be a master, right? So that's 5 years. So 1 year just ain't enough to put them on the floor to call them Van Michael.
Yeah.
Even 2 years. Even 2 years pushing them. I did a show in New York a couple of years ago. You know, I get the pressure like, oh, get them on the floor earlier, because then they don't that many won't quit if you could get them on the floor earlier. And I went to dinner and I took a lot of them. We had like 30 people in New York, you know, staff, and a lot of them was new interns. And I'm sitting around the table. They're 20, 21 years old. I'm listening to the conversation. And I thought, oh, my God, they need to be an assistant for 5 years. But, you know, because they're so young and immature, they're not even ready to talk to our clientele. You know, I mean, we have high-end clients. You know, they're paying $200 a haircut. Yeah. You know, so it's like, 2 years is pushing it, but I don't, you know, I still talk to people and they put people right on the floor. They put them on the floor after 6 weeks. My hat's off to it. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
Because we take them out of school and the first 3 months of training on Mondays is nothing but blow drying. Yeah. Nothing but blow drying. Yeah. And it takes them 3 months to get decent that they can blow dry for their mentors.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know how you put them on the floor in less than a year, really. I don't know how, but we do have a generation here that wants it now. Yeah. You know, they want to make 100,000 a year the first year. But you know, the statistics are, and maybe I'm wrong, but what I've been told is 50% of all students are out of school in 1 year.
Right.
In 5 years, 80% are out.
Yeah, they're out.
Because of the inability to make a living. Because they can't go on the floor with no training and no clients and survive. So at the end of the year, they're starving and they get out. Yeah. You know, I mean, it should be mandatory that they have to be a mentor, you know, an intern.
Yeah. Yeah. They've
like
got
I said,
to have somebody.
I wish I would have saved myself 8 years.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. I would have loved for somebody like Sassoons or Trevor to make me work 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been awesome.
I tell that story about one that I was talking to Ann Mincy, and we were at a show. I was doing her hair backstage before she was ready to go on. And I said, you know, I feel like I'm stale. I just love to just hang it up and go and work for Trevor just for, you know, just say, look, I'll work for nothing. All I want to do is I just want to learn, and I want you to beat me up. And then unfortunately I mustn't have wanted to beat up as much as I wanted because I didn't go. But the point is that I wanted, you know, is to have an aspiration of where you want to be. And when you were talking about that, I immediately thought about you have a standard that everybody's got to live up to. And I think that that's the big key for salons. I mean, if somebody's out there and they've got 6 stylists, and they're trying to bring on somebody, whether they've got them on for 3 years or whatever they choose to, they've got to have standards that you've got to live up to in a certain discipline before you're allowed or given permission. We always call it permission to have the right to a chair. It's not your chair, but you can work at one of them if you do it. And my son Lee talked about, he was back in New York, and he said, I can't remember where it was they went to, but I believe it was one of the, I think, it might have been at Hudson Yards or someplace like that Nobu had in their concession area, they had a place where you could get Nobu food, but it was at a reduced price, like if you have in a concession area. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about with your new talent.
Yeah.
Is that
when they first opened in New York, they had a place next door called Next Door.
Yeah.
And it was half price.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't quite the same service, right? So yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah, and Lee just texted me here. He said it was Moynihan Station, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
Yeah, and I think that's what I love about what you're talking about here is you have a new name, so it's not Van Michael.
Yeah.
It is the new talent, and there's no getting about it. You're side by side, and I'm sure they've figured it out, but they know it's at a reduced price. The quality and your standards are there, but there still the standard might be at 85%.
Yeah.
But that gives them all of the experience so that they bring them up, and you've constantly got movement in. If somebody, we know that, I know your turnover is minimal, but we know that people still move to a different state or, God forbid, die.
Yeah, you have natural attrition, no doubt.
Exactly, and you've got a place to fill them in, and I think that's what's brilliant about that.
Yeah, to me, it's like having the minor leagues. I'm the Atlanta Braves. I got AAA, AA, single A. If somebody leaves, right now we have 9 salons and every single chair is full. Wow. In fact, I'm looking at another location because we have 40 people in training. I have no chairs. See, so our whole growth has been organic. I've never said I want this many, I want another. Like, I run out of places to put people. We have over 100. We got about 110 stylists with 10 years right now. And we have about 30 people with 20 years, and we got probably 10 with 30 and 2 with 40, 3 with 40. Wow. The people don't leave. So our growth comes from people not leaving. We run out of chairs. So yeah, we have the standard, and we have the leverage to say this is how we want it done. We have what we call a performance wheel. It has 11 steps on it, and these are the 11 steps that every client is required to get. Starting with stress relief and shampoo, a good consultation that you use pictures with, iPad, phone, book. I don't care. Don't do a cut of color without, after the consultation, showing them a picture. Is this what you want? Because verbally they don't hear a word you say. You could explain a haircut that you're going to do to me, and I probably wouldn't really know what you're going to do till you're done.
Exactly.
Yeah, so blow dry lesson. Put the brush in their hand, let them do a few sections. Because people don't even know how to hold the dryer.
Right.
So we have all these steps. Like, this is what you got to do. That's why I like new talents, because I can find out if you're willing to do that or not. Yeah. If you're not going to do those steps, then you're not going to move over. And it becomes a habit. You got to do these things. We are monitoring you and seeing if you're doing these 11 steps, right? Rebooking. I tell people, don't sell retail. What you're doing is you're giving them information, how to take care of their hair and how to style it. When you give them that information, they're going to purchase product, right? So we're not selling, we're giving. We're teaching and educating the client. So you've got to do all these things to be successful,
Yeah. You know what? There's, I just want a quick question, but I've got a follow up on it. You said that you've got to follow those steps, and if you don't follow those steps, this might not be the right place for you.
Right.
So if they don't, and you see it, are you quick to let them go if they don't, or how
I'm
do you
not gonna
work
say,
that?
I'm not going to say quick to let them go. If they're not busy and they're not following the steps, they're quick to let go. People, after a while, when you're booked out for 6, 8 weeks,
Yeah.
people get complacent. Now we remind them not to be complacent. We do lineups every morning. Everybody huddles. We go over the customer service standards, and we had a big company meeting 2 weeks ago on Monday where I did an hour on the performance wheel, the importance of it. So we go around and around. Does every single person do every step after they're busy? I'd be lying if I said yes. I would think so. I do they do the key things, and some of them do all of it, right? I got some rock stars. My busiest people have been there for me almost 40 years. They do every step because they know it works. They're charging 200. Like I tell them, the reason I call it performance is every time you go up on your price, you're given the same haircut. Your performance has got to get better, right? Your consultation's got to be better. Your blow dry lessons, you can't give the same service at $80 and think they're going to give you $200 for the same thing.
Yeah.
They like you, but not that fucking much.
Yeah. And that's what I love what you just said, because that right after COVID got to be a really big problem in our industry, where they said, well, everybody during COVID, tell them, put your prices up, you're not charging enough. And then they would go in and they would get exactly the same value, exactly the same service, but the price went up astronomically, or whatever they said. Those were my words, probably said wrong. However, there was this big backlash of clients on our industry complaining that the prices went up dramatically, and yet the service and the value did not. And I think that's something I think that if everybody thinks about. I've always said, look, if you want to charge $25 for a haircut, your haircut better be a $35 haircut. Right. And if you want to go to $40, then you better make sure your haircut's $50 haircut. So there's always value for your money, and that way people don't complain.
Yeah, no, right. So we preach that, like, you can't have increases without increasing value.
Yeah.
Right? You don't just because you booked up, because I tell them, I've seen busy hairdressers get unbusy. Right, because they get complacent. That's my biggest fear of being around 40 years is I keep my foot on the gas, not to be complacent. And I talk to the staff about it all the time. Don't take this for granted. Don't take clients for granted. Like, they can get this service somewhere else. I mean, we are not the best in the world. You know what I mean? Like, we do good hair, but there's a lot of people in town that does good hair. So we got to give great service. We can't get complacent. We have to be better. We're bringing in, I've done this about 3 times. It's been about 15 years since I did it the last time. I bring in this company. They're coming in March. It's one day. They're going to charge me $120,000 for one day of training. They're called Master Connections out of San Diego. And they do training for the Ritz-Carlton and the St. Regis. And it's an all-day customer service training. So I'm bringing them in March again for a whole day, just to make sure my people know how important world service is, right? Just because you're booked out for 6 weeks, it's like you're booked out for 6 weeks, but you're $120, but your goal is to be $500 one day.
Yeah.
So you got to give a $500 haircut. Your mirror's got to be clean. Your brushes have got to be clean. It's funny. I've been on a lot of things after COVID. Aveda did a survey why people wanted to go rent suites. And it was 4 things. Number one, this is what come from Aveda to us owners, says, number 1 was dress code. Number 1 reason people want to work in their own suites. They want to wear what they want to wear. Number 2 was they want to be able to work 2, 3, 4 days, every few days a week as they want. Number 3 was they wanted to have as many days off a year that they want, unlimited days off. And number 4 was they wanted to charge whatever they wanted. So I had a company meeting. I said, okay, guys, this is what people say and why you want to go rent a suite. And we had 3 people to do it. It's been almost 4 years ago. Last time we had anybody leave. We might have had 10 in our history to leave to do that, right? And I say 8 of them wanted to come back after a year or 2. But anyhow, so what I did was I said, okay, once you're on the floor, you can work 3, 4, or 5 days. Up to you. Right. I will let you, as soon as you finish your training, if you want 3 days a week, you can have it. Oh, man, they love that, right? Now, we used to give you 2 weeks paid vacation. Now, we're going to give you 30 days off a year. but only 2 weeks paid. But you can take another 2 weeks on you, right? You can have 30 days a year off. And I'm going to pass out a piece of paper today, and you write down how much you want to charge. You charge whatever you want. But I'm not going to bend on dress code. I will never bend on dress code. You got to look awesome every day. You know, they were happy. It's funny, though. A year passed by. Nobody went down to 3 days. I think one person did. Nobody took 30 days off. You know, it's funny. I talked to them. They're like, I can't afford to work 3 days a week. I can't afford 30 days off. But they just want to know that they can.
Yeah.
Like they, you know what I mean? And a couple people had big increases and they were fine. I mean, one girl's gone from in 1 year from $100 to $200 and she's still busy.
Yeah.
You know, but most of them stay because I talked to them about don't gouge. You better make sure you lose your book. You're gone if you go up too much. You know, like you got to be very aware of what you're doing. I'm going to let you make your decision, you know, but hardly nobody made any jumps. It was funny. They just want to know that they can. And
it's not it's, you know, I think, and they're hearing the scuttlebutt around there. It's just like everybody talks, everybody knows what everybody else is talking about. And then you get that, well, I want that too. Right. But if you give them the opportunity and then they see that they're going to make less money, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, because I know that you can't have whatever you have, 9+ salons and other salons in Japan. And you can't tell me that you're not thinking, okay, well, if you're working only 3 days, well, I've got extra spaces that I can put people into. I just have to be like my Lego set now, and I can just put people in slots that are open. Yeah. So it's not, if you want to do that, great. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to, it's your chair and I'm not using it.
Here's what we do. We say, we find two people, you want 3 days? You want 3 days? Okay, guys, here's your one chair. Y'all get to figure out which 3 days you both work.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's got to be in this chair every day.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, you know, if they're 4 days, we do have days you walk through, it's like a ghost house now. Like Saturdays, I mean, I don't even know why I'm open anymore, right? But I don't even really care because our numbers are, I mean, you know, this year, like, we just opened up the 9th salon 2 months ago. So out of the 8 salons, we'll do about 33 million this year, right?
Wow.
The numbers are still there. They do huge numbers Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you know, because their prices are high and they're all busy. So, and we live in a day and time, like when me and you did hair, people, they couldn't come during the week. They could only come on Saturday.
Yeah.
The world is so flexible now. They come on Monday. It's a whole different world. Saturday is important in our mind that it used to be, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, the young kids, we encourage them to work Saturdays because if they're there, they're busy. But we just don't have many people. And then when you have 100 people that's been there that long, of course they don't want to work Saturdays their whole life. You know, I didn't either, right? I mean, you know, so I'm okay with it. I try to be realistic and fair and, you know, to keep people, right? Because your biggest expense is the money you don't make. And when they leave, but here's what people don't realize. I've got a guy that's charging $200 for a haircut. He's been there 20 years. If he leaves, I got to replace him with somebody charging 60. I don't get that guy to 200 for another 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the setback. So my goal is to keep my staff to do whatever it takes. Honestly. They're really, my staff is really my customer, you know, and then I let them take care of the customer, honestly.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting. My takeaway from what you just said is about your as the owner, you have two customers, but it's a trickle down effect. Your first one is your team, and then it's how they affect the team. And you know, but it's what I hear on, and I'd love to hear your take on in our industry right now. Because I'm hoping that people are listening to this or watching this. Get this, that you're saying our chairs are always full. We've got a lineup of people that are ready to come in. We've got a waiting list for people that want to be here. And there's so many salons that are out there that I hear that are saying, look at it, please just give me anybody. If they're breathing, they can have a job because they just can't seem to get people. But what I'm hearing from you is the word loyalty. Is that those people don't want to leave any more than you want them to leave.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that if there's something we could do for our industry to help them get that message of how we treat people And what's your take on that? What do you do? What do you do within your business, or what are your take that you think you do that, excuse me, that makes them want to stay?
Well, the cliche answer is, I treat them the way I'd want to be treated. But the add-on to that really is like, so we have benefits. We have, insurance. We have 401k. We match a quarter to every dollar they put in up to 6%. We have 3 people been there right at 40 years. They have $1 million each in their 401k.
Wow.
We have any class you want to take anywhere. We pay half of it. I got Gianni Samaki coming in for a whole week in May. I bring people in all the time for training. So you got benefits, you got education, and 50% of my staff, this is including their tips, they make over $150,000 a year. My top producer brought in $520,000 last year.
Wow.
So her W-2 was $218,000, and she told me she made $98 in tip. So if they make good money, they have benefits. I mean, we're not walking around beating people. I mean, we're flexible. What hours, you want to work 10 to 6, 11 to 7, 12 to 8. I don't care. You got to work 30 hours a week to get your benefits. So why would you leave? I mean, we renovate the shops. We have cleaning service every single night. We have house cleaners during the day, picking up towels. You come in and do hair and go home. That's what you do. Forget about it. Right. Yep. I mean, and then I try to make sure I got the creative side. That's why I wanted to get involved with a company like Aveda, somewhere that I have shows and shoots and workshops for my team. They don't want to just do hair behind the chair. That's what the money is. That's the real money, right?
Yeah.
But they want to be creative. They want to be on stage. So I work hard if we don't have enough of shows on the road, we'll do local club shows in town just to give them an avenue. An
outlet. Yeah.
And we party a lot. And what I mean by that, like we just did a big luncheon. That was $50,000 just for lunch for everybody, right? Then we got the Christmas party coming up. That's another big chunk. That's 700 people. We rent a whole nightclub out.
Wow.
And then we have a top 20 dinner. And then this is what I do. This is true. Every new employee that comes in every 3 months, I take all the new people to dinner. And they go around the table and tell me their name, where they're from, why they chose us. That way I get to meet every single person. When they get through the program, because that might be 20 people at that dinner, 10, right? Yeah. And it's somewhere like Maggiano's, nothing fancy, but when they graduate from new talents, I will take only 3 at a time. I take them to the very most expensive, nice restaurant in town to congratulate them. And that way I get to know them again, right? And that way when I walk through the salon, I can say hi to everybody because I have dine and wine and break bread with every single employee.
Yeah.
So, I try to have a connection with everyone, even though it's a lot of people. People say, what's your hardest job? I go, making people feel important because they all are, right? But if I don't see them or talk to them, so we have a lot of parties, a lot of dinners. I mean, we blow it out, because they love it, right? They'd rather go out and get drunk than probably go to a hair show somewhere. they are hairdressers, right? But anyhow, I mean, we have summer parties. I've had rafting party, lake parties, boat parties. I mean, we try to connect with the staff, make them feel important because they're really all that we have. They're the only asset that we have in the building.
Yeah, and what I'm hoping that people take away here is that I'm sure that there was people. We got 700 people that you're taking to a dinner, and they're going, "What the?" But whether you got 6 people or 600 people working for you, you can still apply that same principle. Yeah. You've got one person there, take them out to dinner, find out who they are, find out what their needs are. People will always tell you things when you're having dinner or lunch that they won't tell you in your interview. I bet we have something in common. I have this love-hate relationship. I hate paying for something that I'm not using. I hate working in a small, cramped box. Yet, I love working in a cool salon that impresses my clients, and I love the culture and synergy of a team while enjoying the freedom of being my own boss. You too? What if all that was available to you at the salon you rent from? Meet Artist on Go, a game-changing way to rent salon space. With Artist on Go, you only pay for the time you're behind the chair. You can choose a salon that fits your vibe, location, and amenities. With Artist on Go, you're a part of a stylist community, not hustling alone. Plus, you get to enjoy perks like clean towels and back bar supplies. Check out Artist on Go, built for stylists serious about their clients and growing their brand without the hassles of managing a space. Here's the kicker. You can save more than 50% on your rent. To find out more, go to bit.ly/artistongocb. That's bit.ly/artistongocb.
I tell you too, man, I've gone out to eat with these people like when they graduate from new talents. And they tell me stuff and I'm like, wow, like, oh, well, I've been sleeping on an air mattress in a closet for 2 years. I moved here from Minneapolis. I drove here with just a duffel bag. They've worked their ass off to go through the system. You know what I mean? Like, I won't know that if I don't have that dinner. The sacrifice that they're doing to work for us, right? I mean, I don't want to not know that. And I wouldn't know that otherwise. Really, I talk to these kids. I'm like, wow, they're really like committed. And that's why they don't quit too. They go through so much to go, get on the floor. They don't want to give that chair up. Because I do have a rule: when you're gone, you're gone.
Really?
I don't hire back. So don't test the waters and it don't work out. You come back. And it's different if you move out of state because your husband and wife got a job and you're on return. But you went to another shop in town, the test, I went to rent a chair, and you're like, good luck to you, right? I mean, I don't wish you anything bad, but the chair is now full, somebody who wants it. So, but people go through a lot, so talking to them and finding out, it keeps me grounded to know that they don't make much money. I know their life is tough for a couple of years. I know they're sacrificing, but I love hearing it from them to make sure I don't forget it.
And I think what's important about our business, I mean, this is the standard line that I get all the time, Van, when people say, why would I want to go through a program of education when I can't why would I go through another 6 months, a year, 2 years of training when I can get a job at McDonald's for $17 to $20 an hour? And I say, well, you're right.
Right.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Why would you? Except for the fact, if you look 2 years down the road, you're still going to be making $17 to $20 because that's their system. But the more, what I always call it, and I know you have, I've heard you talk about this before, was the more you learn, the more you earn. And I always call it like a learning to earning curve.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, you'll start off like you'll be watching everybody pass you by in other professions for whatever it is, 6 months, 2 years, whatever it is. But after that is where in our industry, your earnings will go through the roof. And I put this in because I've always had people tell me if my son or daughter wants to get into hair, how much will they earn? And I tell them this, exactly what they deserve.
Right.
Because if you don't put anything in,
right,
you get nothing out. You garbage in, garbage out. But if you put into your time, your training, like you said, your 10,000 hours, and you put the persistence in, that I think that, and I'm going to quote you on something here, because you talked about not only discipline, but endurance. Could you talk to that just for a second, just about when people get into work?
Yeah, it was funny when we had that first dinner with everybody too, the first time we all go to dinner, I tell them, I go, if you don't want to work hard, long hours, you picked the wrong industry and you also picked the wrong company. You know what I mean? So, yeah, because I did about 30 haircuts every single day, 5 days a week. And then I would leave Saturday. I'd catch a plane. I'd fly to wherever, Dallas, Detroit, wherever for Aveda, do a model call, do a show Sunday, teach on Monday, come back home and back on the salon Tuesday, right? I'd go 10 weeks in a row. I'd be so tired, I'd eat laying down, what I mean? Like I was exhausted at times. And that's why I realized, like, people say success is this, and that. It's endurance. Because not only are you doing shows and doing clients, you're also managing 100 staff people. Because I had one location when I was still doing hair with 110 people in one location. We still have that location, right? But I was in the middle of it. I get off of work, there's a line of 20 people waiting to talk to me to complain or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes a lot of endurance to be successful. If you are an owner and you go in and work 4 or 5 days a week and you want the weekends off, you're never going to grow. It's a 7-day-a-week job.
Yeah.
It's a 7-day-a-week job to kick off. I tell people stay really, really small or go to be really, really big, because that in between of 10 employees up to 100 will kick your ass, right? Because you got to get a certain size where I am now, that I have really great people around me, great CEO, great managers, right? Great artistic director, cutting director, color director, so, but there was a time literally in the beginning, I took the towels home every night.
Right.
I would come at 6 o'clock in the morning with an orange vest and an orange hat and stand in the parking lot in Buckhead, where my shop is still, and tell people they couldn't park there because they would like to leave their car there. It was a little restaurant. They'd eat breakfast with the people and they carpool downtown, and I wouldn't have parking all day. So I was the parking attendant every morning, literally. I got in a couple of fights. I got put in jail a couple of times.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, people don't know, but I would be there from 6 to 8. I live walking distance from the shop, go home, get dressed up, be back at work at 8:30 and do clients all day, take the towels home at night.
Yeah.
And then be back in the morning.
Yeah. Well, see, and there it is, from great success, there's always humble beginnings. I can remember when we just started off and we had our first salon, and I remember we lived in an old wartime home. I don't know if they called them here, but in Canada they called them wartime homes. It meant that right after the Second World War, and all the troops were coming home, and they had to build houses they wanted to get home, to get married and have a family. And so they had all these little story-and-a-half houses, and they were called wartime homes in Canada. And that's about all we could afford to have. And I remember bringing home towels in the evening. We had this old beat-up dryer that we had down in our basement, which was with I think it was all but a cement floor, meaning that part of it was dirt. But we had a washer dryer down there. And I remember one night in the middle of the night, we woke up smelling smoke. And I went downstairs and the dryer was on fire, and I had to get the hose out, unplug the dryer, and then hose it down. And that's just the stuff you had to go through at the beginning. And so what was it like at the beginning for you? I think if everybody can see you now that you've got amazing salons and plenty of staff and can afford to most do anything you want with your team. But what was it like at the beginning? And was there something that happened in there where you say, damn, is this all worth it? What do I have to do to keep going? What was it like at the beginning?
Oh, man, I had no clue. I was working for Scott, and there was reasons I needed to move on. I didn't even really want my own shop. I went and interviewed all over town. Yeah. And it wasn't anybody doing anything that I felt like was going to be any different from where I was at. And I kind of also, I was 25 years old, and I was thinking about benefits. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have a retirement. And but I pulled up in this little space. The shopping center I had a little place. I ate breakfast every morning. I pulled up one morning. There's a place that's for rent. It was 700 square feet. And I called the number and said, how much is it? The next day I dropped by. This is how different it was. I signed a 2-page lease with no attorney. And I had no money. No, the guy didn't ask me for a bank account or, now, even after 40 years, that's a 100-page lease and I got to give everything, Yeah. It's crazy. But I just signed a lease. I had no idea what I was doing. And me and my brother, Michael, we built the salon at night ourselves. We did the construction pretty much ourselves. We hired a plumber to do some stuff, but every night we're in there painting. But I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I mean, honestly, I didn't look at a P&L for 10 years. It took me 10 years. When I did the second salon, I started learning that I needed to have benchmarks and P&Ls and all that.
Numbers.
But the first 10 years, never. I never looked at anything. I was just focused on doing great hair, focused on taking care of my clients. And, we had enough money to pay the bills and make payroll, and I had enough to live on, and that was fine with me, right? It wasn't like I need 5% or 10% or 20%. Never thought about it that way. I had a salary. I was comfortable, and we just worked, man. We just worked, and I didn't want a second salon. We went from 7 chairs when we opened to 75 chairs. and we were out of chairs, and I didn't know what to do. So I did not want to do a second salon. I didn't know if I could do that, right? Not let go and not be there, because, you know, I was in the salon from early morning to early night. I saw every head, and I could talk to every hairdresser and be connected. And I felt, but it just got to the point where we did, right? So in the beginning, it was just, I mean, it was hard. It was scary, but it was exciting, right?
Yeah.
Super fun. It's funny too, like just a couple stories in the beginning. We were open in 84. Probably 1 year later, I'm doing hair on Saturday. Probably already, it was in the afternoon. I'd already did 20, 25 haircuts. And my wife was working in the salon at the time. And everybody knew, like, you cannot talk to me while I'm doing clients. I mean, it better be very important. She comes up and says, there's a guy here, and I think you should talk to him. He's got a nice portfolio, and you'll know the name. And, you know, she goes, I think you should talk to this guy. So I stop, walk over. He goes, look, I'm in town to shoot with Scott Coe and Don Shaw. Went to the modeling agency. They said I should come see you. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. So anyhow, it was Gary Lyons. You remember Gary?
No way. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gary's got this his Hairdresser Journal covers with Trevor and Irving and everybody, Modern Salon. I mean, just a book, of all these covers. And he says, I want to shoot with you. And I said, well, I've been open for 1 year, right? I said, well, how much are you going to charge me? He says, nothing. I said, no charge? He goes, yeah. He says, I said, well, that's kind of right, my price point, And I said, when do you want to shoot? He said, 9 o'clock in the morning. This is like 4 o'clock Saturday. You want to shoot Saturday morning? And that's one of those occasions where I just said, well, that's not possible. But I said, okay. So I got to find a studio. I got to get a makeup artist. I got to get a clothing stylist. I got to get a caterer. I got to get models.
Wow.
So called a modeling agency. I had a model call that night. I did hair at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And then we were there at 9 o'clock, all set up to go. And Gary just loved us and was impressed, you know what I mean? And we had this relationship for the next 10 years with him. And he got me so much press, right? That's why I started getting covers of magazines and in magazines and stories, because he was so connected, So it was just, I didn't say no to anything. So the way I met Horace, I just volunteer to work backstage, be there at 3 a.m, right? And I'm there, like anybody asked me, my rule was say yes to everything. I still pretty much does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you never know who's going to meet, who's going to change your life. I always tell people the client that sent me the most clients was a 10-year-old boy. Honestly, this kid,
really,
he's 10 years old. He don't talk. He's got thick glasses. I didn't even know how he got on my books. I didn't even do men, but I'd fine, cut the kid. His mom would come in. She had never had a blow dry. Her hair was teased up, and it was about a year I did his hair. One day I just thought, shit, why not? I said, you should let me do your hair sometimes. Talked her into it. I do her hair, blow dry, falls in love with me, with her hair. Next week, her daughter comes in, gorgeous daughter. Next week, another gorgeous daughter comes in. The next week, the third one comes in. And then they turn out to be good friends with Ted Turner. So I started doing the Turner kids and Ted and James Fonda. And I cannot tell you how many clients I got from this kid, right? So it was exciting that you never knew, and you still don't, who's going to make a difference in your life. And who, you do some supermodel, you never hear from them again,
Right.
You have a great haircut, you didn't charge them, you think they're going to send you a bunch of people, some fountain cheerleader, don't hear a word, but this kid sends me everybody without even trying. Gary, if I hadn't have met Gary Lyons, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. No doubt. He got me the job with Joico that I'd never even heard of them. They hadn't heard of me. He got me a job as artistic director. They kept sending me to Japan. So they had this big distribution in Japan. So I'm going there 6 weeks at a time. And over the course of 2 or 3 years, a group of guys there approached me about doing a partnership and opening up salons. So I did. So now we have 40 salons in Japan. But that's all because I was willing to do a photo shoot with Gary.
At short notice.
Yeah.
At short notice.
At short notice. After I'd worked all week, right? All day, all week.
Yeah.
I mean, did I want to say yes? No. But did something tell me that you better do this? this is an opportunity, so
Yeah.
I took advantage of the opportunity and I did it first class, right? I had
Yeah.
great food there, great models. I mean, like everything. I mean,
Yeah.
Gary was like, oh my God, how did y'all pull this together overnight? But we did, so
Yeah.
that's really what it takes is just, what I tell people, I worked hard because I didn't want to be average
Right.
because nobody pays for average.
Right.
You
Right.
ever been to a restaurant that was average? You go out and
Yeah.
tell your friends, hey, I went to this restaurant down the street. You should go. It's really average.
Yeah.
You're like, no. So I just didn't want to be average. That's about
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's as simple as that. Like before I opened up, I ran into a hairdresser in town. I said, hey, I'm opening up a salon. And I went to beauty school with this person. Their response to me was, I'll never forget, oh, great. All Buckhead needs is another salon. Because
Yeah.
there was already 1,000 salons in a 10-mile radius. And my answer was, I'm not going to be just another salon. And, because I really meant that, right? Like I went with a mission that we're going to be the best salon, or I don't want to do this. I even have meetings now and say, look, we can't get complacent because if we ever not the best salon in town or in the country even, I'm quitting. I'm closing, right? I'm not going to do this if we're not the best. So our goal is still to grow and grow in every area, answer the phones better, have a better software, greet people better, right? Blow dry better, train better, recruit better. And it's all about systems and it's all about improving those systems all the time.
I find it really interesting. And again, this is going to be kind of a two-parter. I was talking to somebody in the film industry just last week or the week before. I can't remember what it was. And they were talking. I thought, because when you talk to people that are actors and are on stage they're on an interview together, etc., and they're always buddy buddy and everything's cordial, etc. But when I was talking to somebody in it, they said that behind the scenes it's really a vindictive, even kind of cutthroat business where they really are not for one another. Mm-hmm. And I know at one time in our industry, it was a bit like that. It was like if you were with Aveda and you were with Redken or you were with somebody else, they would say, "Look at that. There's a different people. They're different crowd. Don't commiserate with everybody in there." But yet we're just bloody hairdressers, And I found that if you went down to the bar and you sat down with them, that hairdressers, you'll just tell everybody everything. Like you'll say, "Well, what do I do about this?" And the hairdresser will tell you. They don't care which brand you're from or whatever. I think Sam V always talks about hairdressers supporting hairdressers. And I just think we've got to have more of that in our industry where we just say, look if all of us grow, then all of us grow. But if we steal from, we keep something from somebody else, that you don't get it. What's your take?
Oh, no, I've been lucky, man. I mean, I have a great relationship with a lot of very successful hairdressers. I mean, even in my city, we all share. I mean, honestly, Candy Shaw, Jeff South. I mean, everybody. I mean, we don't hire each other's staff. Never have. There's just a handshake. You know what I mean? Like I've never hired one person from Jameson Shaw after 40 years. Right? They don't even come apply. My people don't go because they know they're not going to get a job anyhow. Right? They don't even ask. But I got David Wagner, Ray Chavello, Eric Fisher, John Donato. I mean, like on and on, Chuck Pinzon. I can just name a million people. I can pick up the phone and go, hey, what are you spending on this? What are you spending on that? What do you do about social media? I mean, I've got consulting at my fingertips. And the same, people call me all the time, right?
Yeah. What do you do?
There's nothing I won't hand them over. I mean, like there is no secrets because here's the thing. I give it to people all the time, but they don't know how to execute.
Yeah.
They don't have the endurance. I mean, I've had people stand on stage go, why do you share everything? I go, because they're not going to do it. Only one out of 1,000 of these people are going to go back here and do this. Because you know what? It's hard for me to keep people doing it. And I'm all about creating and doing it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no secrets. It's just about executing, and staying focused and staying driven. That's really it. I have no secrets. I just, like I've said in the beginning, I think most salon owners, they don't understand the importance of recruiting. That's what people are missing. Like, people, you know what? When I was in high school, I'd never heard of Vidal Sassoon. I was out of beauty school for 2 years so that name come across to me. He was already world famous, right? Yeah. So people in high school in Chicago, Minneapolis, they do not know Van Michael. and they go to school, they don't know Van Michael. I got to show up there and tell them who Van Michael is and the potential, what we can do for them, right? So I think, like people, so many salon owners are struggling because they just put no time in recruiting.
Yeah.
Like we have a whole team of recruiting. That's it.
Yeah.
People that are flying to beauty schools, doing demonstrations weekly, right? I got a girl she just interviews and hires and, got social media that we're driving all the time and, putting out to the school. So I just think people got to understand the importance of recruiting new staff.
Yeah.
I tell you the other thing about new talent too is important. It brings in the younger clients.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because otherwise we're going to get old and our clients are going to get old. So we need that younger hairdresser and that younger client to come in where they can do their 10, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Or we don't just die off.
True. It's true.
And
I'm loving what you're saying there because the idea behind that if you've got recruiting, most people recruit when they've got an empty space.
Right.
Rather than waiting for recruiting before you've got the empty space. Mm-hmm. And then you can actually just say, look, I've got a place for you when we're ready here.
That's what, and it always works out. I swear it works out. It's funny that my son, we're specialization, either cut or color, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we still do a lot of locations. We have a color room and a cutting room. So I've just renovated 2 or 3 shops in the last couple of years. I'm putting everybody back together again. And the colors, they tend to make a little bit more money for a while than the cutters. Once the cutters get up at $150 a haircut or two, it evens out again.
Yeah.
Right? But,
yeah.
Most of the kids, when they choose color. I'd say 2 out of 3 chooses color.
Yeah.
My son works in the company, and he's like, Dad, everybody's picking color. He goes, what? Doesn't it worry that we're not going to have cutters? I said, Lucas, he's my son. I said, I don't care if I have 250 colors and no cutters. We could just be a big color company, right? Yeah. I said, or if we got 40 colors at a location, only 5 cutters, the cutters can charge more because it's harder to get in with them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not really worried about the ratio or what we end up there, right? We just want the chairs full, doing great color or cut. I don't care if it's equal amount of number or if we're lopsided one way or the other. There's 7 million people in Atlanta.
Everybody
needs a hair color. So, so I'm putting them back together. Now, that way I don't have to worry about, well, this room's full and this one's empty. And we'll make this chair color or cut no matter, if somebody needs a chair, and whatever they do is what they do. Right. So we're putting them all back in one big room again. And actually, it's funny. Clients like it because they look around and go, what is she getting done?
Yes.
What is she getting done? Because the cutters, I've learned, after 10 years, they don't know anything to talk about hair color, right? They don't even know how to talk about hair color. But so now, by them being in the same room, the clients are asking questions, and it's kind of, even though our color business is off the chart, right? It still promotes more color.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know that in a large Chicago salon chain that's there, I was doing a program for them a while ago, and they said that, that they switched back from doing specialized cutting color into making everybody do everything. And I think it was right because of COVID, but I love the fact that you're keeping it specialized.
I tell you what, man, I would never go back to, I was generalist for 7 years and I switched over, even after I already had 50 people. I switched over, which wasn't easy, but when I looked around the industry at that time, I go, well, who are the best salons in the world? Sassoon's, Tony and Guy, Horace, Frederick Vermeer, all specialization, right? So that tells me something. But if you got somebody that does 10 colors a day for 10 years, they're going to be better than the person that does 1 or 2 colors a day.
Yeah.
Same with cutting. But it's funny, I grandfathered people in. So I have 3 people that still do both. They've been there 40 years and they're booked out all the time.
Yeah.
But their numbers don't get near the cutters and the colors who specialize. Because they never got good enough to charge $200 for a haircut.
Right.
They're still $80, $90 haircutters.
Yeah.
Right. And they never got good enough. They can't compete with the colors,
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. I'm just going to say it is some people don't like it because this wasn't the reason I did it. But now with people, in the industry leaving and doing suites and all that, if they do everything, if they leave, their clients are going to follow.
Yeah.
If they cut and their clientele is getting colored by 3 or 4 other people in the salon, all we do when they leave, we send a gift card out for 2 free haircuts, and we keep 80% of the clients.
Yeah.
Because they're salon clients.
Yeah.
And they're going to do people like
you had
that.
to put out all the advertising and everything that went on to bring them in the first place. So that's there. Well, you know, excuse me, Van, I talked at the beginning that we haven't talked really before other than shaking hands at shows. I need to get you back on here because I have so much more that I want to talk about. But I want to do this as we'd be remiss if we didn't run you through this rapid fire.
Okay.
So just real quick responses on these. What turns you on in the creative process?
What turns me on in the creative process? Really, man, just working with my team. You know, it's always a creative team process. We all bring the ideas to the table.
Yep.
See what the commonality is when we're doing a show or what direction of the hair. So to me, it's working with the team of creative people that kind of inspires me.
Beautiful. And what stifles creativity with you?
Not being open-minded, you know, thinking there's always, you got to know that there is always something new, you know, or at least you can make it something new out of something old, right? Don't think, hey, it's only hair, I've done everything, because you haven't, you know.
What's a thing then in life that you love the most?
Oh, my family.
And what do you dislike the most in life?
Drama, bullshit.
What do you love the most about our industry?
I love the creative spirit of people in this industry. I really do. You know, I mean, like, we're a special breed. If you're a hairdresser for a long time, if I'm on vacation, I can't walk by a salon without looking in a window. I was in Ecuador last week, and you know, in third world countries, I'm looking in the barbershops. You know what I mean? Like, I love the industry. You know, I've been in for 48 years now, you know, and I just love hairdressers and the people in the industry.
And
people ask me if I would do it again. I'd say absolutely. I would do this 100% again.
What do you dislike most about our industry?
I guess the thing I dislike the most, that when somebody does leave, it can't be cordial as you would like for it to be. You know what I mean? Because you're forced to both fight for the clients. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel good. I mean, you don't always have to, but it's just hard to part with this industry with people, you know, and I hate that because you still care about them, but you try not to take it personal. You try not to feel betrayed, but then you kind of do, you know? So that's the thing I don't like about it, really.
Yeah. And then a person you admire the most?
In the hairdressing industry?
Anybody as an overall?
Oh, man. You know, probably my parents, honestly. I mean, my dad worked 100 hours a week, you know, as a mechanic. I mean, literally, I found his paychecks. It said hours work 100, you know, and my mom she worked her whole life too, but she was like the most nurturing and giving person. So I feel like, you know, I got these work ethics, and I also got from my mom, just, you know, like it's all about taking care of people. Her whole life, she didn't do anything for her. It was about everybody else.
Yeah.
You know? And so,
God bless our moms. Something that people don't know about you.
I don't know. What people don't know about me is that they may know this, but I love the outdoors. Like I kayak, I mountain bike. I mean, that's really where my heart and soul is if I'm not working, I'm outside. I mean, I'm going to Ecuador to kayak, or Canada, or upstate New York, or I'm in a mountain bike race. So I guess what people don't know is that I love, how was the word I'm looking for? Like, pushing myself really hard. Like I love the pain. That's it. I love the pain. That's why I don't know how much I love pain.
Yeah. We're gonna start naming that Van's S&M starter kit.
There you go. That's a good name.
Let's see. Thing that terrifies you.
Thing that terrifies me is attorneys. Lawsuits.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur.
Hey, HR scares me.
Yeah. Okay. Your favorite curse word.
Fuck.
Your favorite comfort food.
Wow, probably a banana pudding.
Oh, something in the industry that you haven't done, but you wish but you want to.
Something that I haven't done in the industry, but I want to. Maybe open up a school.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm still.
when
I'm always toying with opening up a school, but it's something I still kind of feel like I want to do.
good on you. One do-over. What would it be?
One do over. One do over. Maybe. Yeah, I should have bought all my own buildings
Yes.
instead of rent.
There it is. There it is. Tomorrow you couldn't do hair or have anything to do with hair. What would you do?
Probably be a raft guide.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm 67 now, right? So
uh,
I don't know. Like, I probably would never retire. You know what I mean? I'll work to the end,
yeah.
but I mean, really, I've had a lot of up and downs. When I was 40, I got caught in a Ponzi scheme and lost millions of dollars.
Oh,
So I almost had to start over financially. But I mean, honestly, I feel like my journey's been a good journey, and I don't
mhm.
have really any regrets. You know what I mean? And because I know even if you start over, you're still going to make mistakes,
Yeah.
and you got to learn from it. And nobody's going to get through life without getting knocked down a few times. You just got to get back up. So
Yeah.
I feel like, really my journey's been good to me. I've had a good life and I got a good family, and I have a great staff now. The relationship with my staff, I'm very happy with being a hairdresser and where it's taking me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I tell people in the beginning, for many, many years, I was grossly underpaid, and now I'm grossly overpaid, for what I do. But seriously, I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of things I would do over,
Right.
like, maybe when I was 40, I might have should have done my own product line. The
Yeah.
opportunity was there, but I I don't look at that. No, that's a home run, or you would have made a killing, because I know a lot of people that didn't make it. I watched Horse. I was very close with him, how hard he worked, and
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
have kids till I was 40 anyhow, and I felt like I was going to be gone all the time, and once I hit 40, I worked 7 days a week from 20 to 40. But when I hit 40, I got even myself wanted a more work-life balance, and I had kids.
Yeah.
I don't think a product line, it would have probably taken too much of my time for it to have been worth it to me, no matter how
Yeah.
much money I made. You really do only need so much money, honestly. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, so I just want to be very comfortable and have a nice balance and be healthy. I eat good. I work out, I bike, I paddle, I lift weights, and, just
Yeah.
enjoy life.
I love it. Um, and one last question, but before I ask you that question, if well, people listening to this and they'd say, I want Van to come in and do something, a seminar, a thing, or whatever that is. How would they get a hold of you?
They can go through like our website, and Van Michael website
Yeah.
has way, our has on there our email addresses to
Yeah. Go through
contact people.
contact. Yeah.
Yeah,
Contact
yeah,
us. I
so
love it.
yeah.
Okay. Last
Hey,
question.
they can all just call you, and then you can call me.
Yeah. All I'm asking for is 10 points.
Okay, all right.
I have one last question for you. If you had one wish for our industry, what would it be?
If I had one wish for my industry, I would wish for everybody to make at least 100,000 a year. Every hairdresser
Mm,
out there, no matter where they're at. And
yeah.
the second wish, you only gave me one, is that
No, I'll give you two.
they would realize the path that it takes to get there,
Yeah.
because they all could get there. Every single hairdresser could do it if they get on the right path.
Yeah. That's true. True words.
Yeah.
Van, I've been looking for this opportunity to speak to you for years, and it's come to fruition. And we're going to be best friends, whether you like it or not. And
Uh,
I can't wait to have you on here again and pass on your wisdom.
Well, I would love to be, and I am very honored. I've always wanted to meet you and talk to you, so I'm very honored. It feels like I've known you for a long time, actually. So I'm sure we will have a good time having that beer together eventually.
And dinner. Got to be dinner
Yeah.
too.
So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, that's it's mutual, and thank you. And I have to congratulate you on Mark Woolley had his Legends artwork that came out, picking all the legends from North America, and you were on there, and I think very well deserved, my friend. Very well
Thank you.
deserved.
Yeah, I was honored for Mark to pick me, and I love him. He's a great guy. We've become buddies. I've even taken him mountain biking before. He didn't really enjoy it, but you can talk to him about it. Anyhow, no, I'm very honored to be in that group of people. I am.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, it was a pleasure, and I just want to thank you again for giving up your time and telling your stories. I love it.
All right. I'll see you in Phoenix soon.
There you will.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Right. Cheers.
Headcases is produced by Cut Action Media with Marjorie Phillips doing the planning parts, Lee Baran on the video bits, and Adrian Taverner mixing the audio jazz.